You dare interrupt the speeches? The crack of bamboo against flesh echoed through the reception hall as my father-in-law's cane connected with my son's back. Grandpa, I just wanted to... Oliver's voice broke into a sob. Children should be silent at formal events. Another strike landed as 300 wedding guests watched in approval. My wife's father smacked my son with cane for speaking at wedding, and guests applauded. Hi, I'm Magnus. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. When I married Yuki 12 years ago, I thought I understood what I was signing up for. She'd warned me that her family was traditional, that her father Hiroshi was strict, that Japanese customs were important to them. Coming from my Swedish-American background where kids were encouraged to express themselves, I figured I could adapt. How different could it really be? I was naive. Hiroshi Yamamoto was old-school Japanese in every sense. He'd built a successful electronics import business from nothing, commanded respect in both the Japanese and American business communities, and ruled his family like a feudal lord. When he walked into a room, everyone straightened up. When he spoke, everyone listened. When he made a decree, it was law. The early years weren't too bad. Yuki and I lived in Seattle, far enough from her parents in San Francisco to maintain some independence. We'd visit for major holidays, where I'd bow properly, speak only when spoken to, and generally play the part of the respectful son-in-law. Hiroshi seemed to tolerate me, which Yuki assured me was practically a ringing endorsement. Then we had Oliver. My son was special from day one, bright, curious, eager to engage with the world. By age 2, he was stringing together complex sentences. By 4, he was reading chapter books. By 7, he was asking questions that made adults think. He was also sensitive, kind, and had this incredible ability to connect with people of all ages. Hiroshi hated everything about him. The boy talks too much, he'd say during every visit. No discipline. He's just intelligent, father, Yuki would defend weakly. She'd been trained from birth never to truly challenge her father. Intelligence without obedience is worthless, Hiroshi would respond, his dark eyes fixed on Oliver like a hawk eyeing prey. The criticisms were constant. Oliver smiled too much, disrespectful. He asked questions, impertinent. He laughed during dinner, lacking gravitas. He wanted to show his drawings to his grandfather, attention-seeking. Everything my son did naturally was wrong in Hiroshi's eyes. Why doesn't Grandpa like me? Oliver asked one night after a particularly harsh family dinner where Hiroshi had spent 20 minutes lecturing about proper posture. He shows affection differently, Yuki said, the lie bitter on her tongue. He doesn't show affection at all, Oliver said with the devastating honesty only children possess. I tried talking to Yuki about limiting visits, but she was torn between her husband and her father. In Japanese culture, filial piety was everything. Defying her father was almost physically painful for her. He's from a different generation, she'd say. He means well. He makes our son feel worthless, I'd counter. Please, Magnus, just let me handle it my way. But her way was appeasement, and appeasement wasn't protecting Oliver. The real problems started when Yuki's younger sister Keiko announced her engagement. It would be a massive traditional wedding. 500 guests, including business associates from both Japan and America. The entire Yamamoto clan would be in attendance, and Hiroshi was sparing no expense to show off his status. Oliver will need to be on his absolute best behavior, Yuki stressed in the weeks leading up to the wedding. This is important to father. He's 8 years old, I reminded her. Not a robot. I know, but please, just this once, help him understand. So I did. I explained to Oliver that this was a special event, that different families had different rules, that sometimes we need to be extra quiet and still. Oliver, sweet kid that he was, solemnly promised to do his best. I don't want to make Grandpa angry, he said. Maybe if I'm really good, he'll finally like me. My heart broke. No child should have to earn basic affection from a grandparent. The wedding day arrived with all the pomp Hiroshi had planned. The ceremony was at a high-end hotel in San Francisco, decorated with thousands of white orchids and gold accents. Oliver looked adorable in his little suit, his hair slicked back, shoes polished to a mirror shine. Remember, Yuki whispered to him as we entered, be very quiet during the ceremony. I will, Mama, he promised. And he was perfect. For 2 hours, Oliver sat still as a statue during the traditional Shinto ceremony. He didn't fidget during the Sansan Kudo sake ritual. He didn't make a sound during the lengthy speeches. I was so proud I could have burst. The reception moved to an enormous ballroom. Round tables for 10 filled the space, each centerpiece more elaborate than the last. We were seated at a family table near the front, Oliver between Yuki and me. Hiroshi sat at the head table, surveying his domain like an emperor. The evening progressed with military precision. Course after course of exquisite food appeared and disappeared. Speeches began, first the parents, then siblings, then important business associates. Each speaker followed a rigid formula, praising the families, wishing prosperity, bowing at precisely the right moments. Oliver remained wonderfully behaved through it all. He ate quietly, smiled politely when elderly relatives pinched his cheeks, and even managed to sit through Uncle Takeshi's 40-minute speech about honor and duty without squirming. Then disaster struck in the most innocent way possible. It was during a brief pause between speakers. Keiko, the bride, was making her rounds, thanking guests. When she reached our table, her face lit up seeing Oliver. "My favorite nephew," she said, bending down to hug him. Keiko had always been different from the rest of the family. Warmer, more westernized, more willing to show affection. "Aunt Keiko, you look like a princess," Oliver exclaimed, his face glowing with genuine joy. "Thank you, sweetheart. Are you having fun?" "Yes, and I made you something." Before anyone could stop him, Oliver reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small folded paper crane. He'd spent hours perfecting it, following YouTube tutorials until he got it just right. "I made it from special paper. It has gold flecks. It's for good luck in your marriage." The entire room seemed to freeze. In the rigid hierarchy of the reception, a child speaking out of turn, especially during the formal speech portion, was unthinkable. Worse, Oliver had stood up to give Keiko the crane, making himself visible to all 500 guests. Keiko, bless her, immediately accepted the crane with delight. "It's beautiful, Oliver. I'll treasure it always." But the damage was done. I saw Hiroshi rising from his seat, his face a mask of cold fury. He walked with measured steps, his bamboo cane clicking against the marble floor. The room fell silent, all eyes tracking his movement. "Father," Yuki whispered, half standing, "he didn't mean—" "Silence." Hiroshi's voice cut through the air like a blade. He stopped directly behind Oliver, who had turned to see what was happening. "Grandpa?" Oliver's voice was small, uncertain. "You dare interrupt the formal proceedings?" Hiroshi's voice was deadly quiet. "You dare draw attention to yourself at my daughter's wedding?" "I just wanted to give Aunt Keiko—" "You dare interrupt the speeches?" The crack of bamboo against flesh echoed through the reception hall as my father-in-law's cane connected with my son's back. "Grandpa, I just wanted to—" Oliver's voice broke into a sob. "Children should be silent at formal events." Another strike landed as 300 wedding guests watched in approval. The sound that followed will haunt me forever. Applause. Scattered at first, then growing. Guests were actually applauding Hiroshi for maintaining order and teaching proper respect. Oliver collapsed into his chair, sobbing. Red welts were already forming on his back through his thin suit jacket. I saw red. "Don't touch my son again," I said, standing and putting myself between Hiroshi and Oliver. "Your son needs discipline," Hiroshi said calmly, as if he hadn't just assaulted a child in front of hundreds of people. "My son needs protection from abusive old men," I shot back. Gasps rippled through the nearby tables. No one spoke to Hiroshi Yamamoto that way. "Magnus!" Yuki tugged at my arm, tears streaming down her face. "Please, not here." "Not here? He just beat our child in public and people applauded. When exactly should I object?" "You're making a scene," Hiroshi said, his grip tightening on his cane. "Good. Maybe someone needs to make a scene. Maybe someone needs to point out that hitting children isn't cultural tradition. It's abuse." "How dare you? How dare you?" I scooped Oliver into my arms. He buried his face in my shoulder, his small body shaking. We're leaving. If you leave now, you insult the bride and groom, someone called out, one of Hiroshi's business partners. The only insult here is a grown man beating a child for showing love, I said. Oliver made his aunt a paper crane, a gift from his heart. And you applauded while his grandfather beat him for it. I looked around the room, meeting the eyes of those who'd clapped. Shame on all of you. Yuki stood frozen, torn between following us and staying. The conflict on her face was agonizing. Yuki, Hiroshi commanded, sit down. Your husband will return when he comes to his senses. My senses? I laughed bitterly. My senses tell me to call the police and report assault on a minor. The only reason I'm not is because Oliver doesn't need more trauma today. I strode out, Oliver clinging to me. Behind us, Hiroshi's voice boomed, Let him go! The gaijin never understood proper behavior anyway! In the parking lot, I carefully examined Oliver's back. 2 angry red marks crossed his skin. I took photos with my phone documenting the injury. I'm sorry, Daddy, Oliver whispered. I ruined the wedding. No, buddy, you did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. Giving someone a gift is beautiful. Grandpa was wrong to hit you. The people who clapped were wrong too. But everyone thinks I was bad. Then everyone is wrong. Yuki found us 20 minutes later. She'd been crying, her carefully applied makeup streaked. Is he okay? She asked, reaching for Oliver. He has welts on his back. Your father caned our 8-year-old son and people applauded. Magnus, I'm so sorry. I never thought... In front of everyone. You never thought he'd do it publicly, so it would have been fine in private. No, that's not what I meant. She was sobbing now. I don't know what to do. He's my father. And Oliver is your son. When do you choose him? The ride home was silent, except for Oliver's occasional sniffles. Back at our house, I gave him a warm bath, applied antibiotic cream to the welts, and tucked him into bed with his favorite stuffed dragon. Daddy, he said as I turned off the light. I don't want to see Grandpa anymore. You don't have to, I promised. Not until I know you're safe. The fallout was immediate. My phone exploded with calls and texts, some supporting Hiroshi, others expressing shock at what happened. Keiko herself called, horrified. Magnus, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Father would... The crane was beautiful. I have it right here. Tell Oliver I love it. You're not responsible for your father's actions, I told her. No, but I'm responsible for not speaking up. When he hit Oliver and people applauded, I should have said something. We all should have. Yuki spent the night on the phone with various relatives. The family was split. The older generation supported Hiroshi, while some of the younger ones were appalled. Her mother, usually silent, finally spoke up. Your father went too far, I heard her tell Yuki. Striking a child at a wedding? What will people think? Note that her concern was about appearances, not Oliver's well-being. I made a decision that night. I called my lawyer friend David Kim, ironically a Korean-American who understood both cultural dynamics and California law. Caning a child hard enough to leave marks is assault, he confirmed. The fact that hundreds witnessed it actually helps your case. Do you want to press charges? I want to know my options, I said. The next morning, Hiroshi called our house. Yuki put him on speaker. The boy needs to apologize, he said without preamble. Publicly, at the family dinner next week. Oliver has nothing to apologize for, I said. He disrupted my daughter's wedding. He gave his aunt a gift. You assaulted him. If anyone should apologize, it's you. I disciplined an unruly child, as is my right as family patriarch. Your rights don't extend to physical abuse. Abuse, Hiroshi scoffed. 2 light taps with a cane? In my day. In your day is over. This is America. This is 2024, and this is my son. Touch him again, and I'll have you arrested. You threaten me? I promise you. The line went dead. The family dinner the following week proceeded without us. But I wasn't done. I posted about the incident on social media, including the photos of Oliver's welts. The post went viral in our local community. Prominent businessman assaults 8-year-old at wedding. Guests applaud. The response was immediate and divisive. Many people, especially younger Asian Americans, shared their own stories of public humiliation and abuse disguised as discipline. Others defended cultural traditions and respect for elders. But the business community took notice. Hiroshi had carefully cultivated an image as a progressive businessman bridging East and West. Now he was being discussed in a very different context. Three of his American business partners quietly withdrew from pending deals. A planned partnership with a children's education company fell through. They couldn't be associated with someone who publicly beat children. The Japanese American Business Association, where Hiroshi held a board position, launched an investigation. Meanwhile, Oliver was struggling. He had nightmares about the wedding. He became withdrawn at school, terrified of making mistakes. His teacher called, concerned about the dramatic change in her formerly outgoing student. "Has something happened?" she asked. "Oliver used to be so eager to participate. Now he barely speaks above a whisper." I explained the situation. She was horrified. "Would you consider having him speak to our school counselor? This kind of trauma can have lasting effects." We started Oliver in therapy. Dr. Martinez, a child psychologist, was gentle but clear in her assessment. Public humiliation, especially combined with physical violence, can be deeply damaging to a child's developing psyche. The fact that adults applauded the abuse compounds the trauma. Oliver learned that even when he's hurt, the crowd might side with his attacker. "How do we help him?" Yuki asked, clutching my hand. "Consistent support. Clear messages that what happened was wrong, and absolutely no contact with his abuser until Oliver feels ready, if ever." That "if ever" hung in the air. Yuki's family was pressuring her to make peace. Her mother called daily, alternating between guilt trips and demands. "Family is everything," she'd say. "You're destroying our reputation." "Father destroyed it when he publicly beat a child," Yuki would respond, growing stronger each day. Within 6 months, Hiroshi's empire was crumbling. He was forced to sell the business at a massive loss. The prestigious family home in Pacific Heights went next. The man who'd built his identity on success and status was watching it all disappear. But the personal losses were even greater. Keiko cut contact with him after he demanded she return the paper crane and publicly denounce Oliver's disrespect. She chose her nephew over her father. "That little crane means more to me than his approval ever did," she told us. "It was made with love. That's something father never understood." Other family members began pulling away too. Cousins admitted they'd been terrified of Hiroshi their whole lives. Nieces and nephews shared their own stories of casual cruelty. The family patriarch's iron grip was breaking. Yuki's mother eventually left him. After 40 years of marriage, she couldn't pretend anymore. "I watched him hit my grandson and I said nothing," she told Yuki through tears. "I failed Oliver. I failed you. I failed myself. I won't fail anymore." The divorce was swift. Without his family, his business, his status, Hiroshi was just an angry old man living in a small apartment, ranting about respect to anyone who'd listen. Oliver slowly began healing. His therapist worked with him on understanding that Grandpa's actions were wrong, that the adults who applauded were wrong, that he'd done nothing to deserve what happened. "I just wanted to make Aunt Keiko happy," he said during one session. "Is that really so bad?" "It's not bad at all," Dr. Martinez assured him. "It's beautiful. Don't let anyone make you afraid to show love." Gradually, Oliver's spark returned. He started raising his hand in class again. His laughter came back. He even started learning origami, making paper cranes for friends and teachers, reclaiming the act that had caused so much pain. A year after the wedding, we received unexpected news. Hiroshi had suffered a severe stroke. He was paralyzed on his left side, unable to walk without assistance. The man who'd wielded his cane as a weapon now needed one just to move. So we went. Hiroshi was in a rehabilitation facility, a far cry from his former luxury. He looked smaller, older, fragile. When he saw us, his eyes widened. Oliver walked up to his wheelchair, no longer the terrified 8-year-old from the wedding. He was 9 now, taller, more confident. Hiroshi's mouth worked soundlessly. For the first time in his life, he had no words. So here's my question to you. If you were at that wedding and saw a grandfather strike his grandchild for the crime of giving a gift, what would you have done? Would you have applauded with the crowd, stayed silent in your seat, or would you have stood up and said, "This is wrong"?